In this video, I'm going to be showing 3 AI tools that I use to make well over 10K a month using cold email. So let's get into it. Now, number 1, surprise, surprise, it's ChatGPT. Now, the thing people need to understand when it comes to using AI tools, especially really generic ones like ChatGPT, is they have a lot of utility, but for really simple basically premises or prompts. Now, I'm going to give you some examples of how I personally use ChatGPT to basically automate my emails and take a lot of the work out of basically making a cold email campaign. Now, first thing I do with ChatGPT is lead verification. Now, anyone that has ever bought leads from a lead sourcer or a lead scraper, whatever it might be, there's always going to be leads in there that don't fit your criteria. There's going to be leads that are simply just not in the target industry. They could be, for example, not the owner of the business, whatever it might be. And you can use ChatGPT to essentially sort through those leads and verify them for you. So when it comes to actually you having a cold email campaign, you're only reaching out to people that actually need the thing that you're reaching out to. And that's really important because it means you're going to get flagged less by spam, and as such, you're going to end up in the inbox more often. And if you're wondering how you can actually do this, it's pretty simple. You just upload your lead list to ChatGPT and say, ChatGPT, I'm working with gyms. Can you make sure going through the business name and URL of all these businesses, hundreds and hundreds of businesses, make sure they're all gyms, for instance, and it will do that for you. If you're using, for example, like LinkedIn URLs to someone's profile, ChatGPT, make sure these are all business owners and not, managers of the business, things like that. You can even divide your leads into brand new categories. So for example, if you're working with gyms, you can maybe separate those leads into really small gyms that maybe focus on a more quality service and really large gyms that focus on a more quantitative service. And you can essentially hyper target these if you want sub niches with really specific email copy. And that's a really great tip to massively boost your cold emails. But by far the thing I use ChatGPT most for are personalized lines. Now, everyone will probably that has done cold email before is pretty familiar with the concept of making a personalized line in a cold email. And there's a reason for that, and that's because personalized lines really do work. It basically shows the business owner that, hey, I am actually reaching out to you. This isn't sent from some bulk list, even though it probably is, right? Now, what I personally would do and what I would recommend you do is you go to ChatGPT and you say, hey, ChatGPT, I work with this niche of business owners. I want you to go through the URL of that business and essentially create a unique personalized line for that business, complimenting them about something. Now, you're going to have to play around with this. You're going to have to prompt GPT a couple of times for it to really get good at basically this. But in the end, you want to end up with essentially a personalized line that looks a little something like, hey, John, I'm reaching out to you because I saw that you're a personal training gym that specializes in strength and conditioning work. That is an example of a personalized line that you can actually achieve with ChatGPT, and it actually will work. Some things you want to avoid with ChatGPT, though, are things like ChatGPT, write me, email copy. You really, really want to avoid that because as advanced as, some of the features of ChatGPT 5 are, it's nowhere near the level of a human to actually create, engaging email copy. That is still a skill that you'll absolutely have to learn yourself. But that brings us on to the next tool, which is called Hippo Video. Now, essentially what Hippo Video is it's an AI video creator, if you will. And what you can do, very common in emails, is say, for example, this is our email. You'll have the subject line, hi, John, the personalized line at the top. And what you could then do with something like Hippo Video is you can create a personalized AI video of which you basically won't spend any time making or anything like that. And what this essentially does is it takes the personalized element of a cold email to the next level, but it keeps it automatable. And essentially what I have personally done with Hippo Video and what I would recommend you do, because like I said, this is what I've done, is you can essentially do a 30-second personalized intro, i.e. you record this manually. It could be, hi John, I'm reaching out to you because I wanted to talk to you about, John's gym and how I can help John's gym do blank. And then after that, you can take it to a pre-recorded video that is essentially like a, video sales pitch, if you will. There are lots of other really cool functions of Hippo Video. I know there's things like you can make AI unique videos for inbound leads as well. So if you're doing that, you can play with it a little bit. Not sponsored whatsoever, but there is a link down below if you wanted to use Hippo Video, because personally, although I'm not using it currently, I have used it in the past and it has been really, really helpful. But moving on to our last tool, and that is Instantly. Now, obviously, what can you use Instantly for a cold email campaign for? Fairly straightforward, right? Sending emails, automating the campaign, but there's a few really unique features that I like within Instantly that have basically really supercharged my cold email results, because one of the hardest things to essentially achieve with Instantly, or rather achieve in cold emails in general, is a high open rate. And there's a couple reasons for this. Your subject line, your copy, it'll obviously play a factor, right? But on top of that, you need to make sure that your emails have really good deliverability. And what I would personally recommend you do, and what I use with Instantly, is once you start, your campaign, for example, you might be sending something like 30 emails a day. On top of that, what you want to do is you also want to warm up your email while it's still sending. Now, obviously, if you're not already familiar, when you start a brand new email, you want to warm it up for anywhere from sort of 30 to 45 days, somewhere in that ballpark. But once you've done that, and you've essentially moved on to, launching your cold email campaign, you're sending 30-ish emails a day per email, which is roughly what I'd recommend. On top of that, you want to obviously stop that previous warm-up, but then you want to start a brand new warm-up of basically something as small as 5 emails a day. The difference is, though, you want a 100% reply rate with those warm-up emails, because when you were doing, for example, 30 to 40, when you were doing a warm-up, maybe simulating 30 emails a day, maybe something a little less, whatever it might be, you would have had a pretty low reply rate, 25%, something like that. But now that you're sending cold emails, and these cold emails, most of them aren't going to get any replies at all, you still want the the email filters to think it's an authentic email count. And that's why you want to keep the new warm-up with a really high reply rate, because this essentially will make up for the fact that previously, when you were doing a warm-up, you were getting lots of replies, whereas now that you're using 30 emails a day to an actual cold email source, you're not going to be getting as many replies. So this just keeps it looking authentic, and this is saving so much time and money and hassle, because by far the most frustrating thing about a cold email campaign is landing in the spam folder. Another thing you can also measure with it Instantly is just open rate. And from my experience, the open rate trackers or the click trackers that exist within a software like Instantly, it's generally a bit better than just like a normal plugin. But I wouldn't recommend you keep this going for the long term. But when you do start a new campaign, when you're, for example, testing a new subject line, whatever it might be, Instantly can give you a rough idea of the open rate. It won't be perfect, but it's really easy to analyze, through their CRM or whatnot. And it also just gives you a gauge of how well your emails are actually doing, because when you're starting a new email campaign, or if it's something brand new, then it can be really useful to basically see whether or not your target market is opening your emails and just gauging the interest based off that. But those are the 3 AI tools I use for cold email, and that's what I'd recommend you do. If you want to grow your own online business, check the video on screen now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.